Joining us now is Alice Butler-Short. She is the founder and state director for Virginia Women for Trump. That's right, Alice Butler-Short. She is a supporter of Corey Stewart for governor. There's 3 announced candidates in that race: Ed Gillespie, Corey Stewart, and State Senator Frank Wagner. Corey Stewart, of course, the former chairman of the Trump campaign in Virginia, got fired in October by the Trump people in New York, and then we went on from there. He's also the chairman of the Board of Supervisors of Prince William County. And Alice Butler-Short not too happy with me these days, so we figured we'd let her have her say. And Alice, as you know, I am inoffensible. You cannot offend me by anything you say, so don't worry about hurting my feelings. I've been in this business a long time. You know what? I believe in the Dale Earnhardt theory of publicity. He says, I don't care if you're hissing me and booing me, clapping for me, or cheering for me. As long as you're making noise for me, I'm good with the whole thing. Hey, Alice, good to have you with us, Alice.
Thank you, John. And as you say, no safety pins and no safe spaces, just the unvarnished truth. And I'm a Trump woman, and you can't put me down. So here we go. And what I want to do is to put to rest today the lies that are being perpetrated about Corey Stewart by Mark Lloyd and Mike Rubino.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
Let's take a step back. Corey was doing effective work all over the state for Mr. Trump. And these individuals had no vision beyond satisfying New York with statistics on phone calling and door knocking, and they are dishonest to boot. Corey had no authority over these people, and they tried to sabotage him, the only effective Trump spokesperson in the state. And one can only speculate, and we'll have to see how things work out about ulterior motives.
Well, wait a minute now, Alice. Let me just say a couple things. And first of all, thank you for being on today. And Alice, there was nobody that worked harder than you. Many of us worked as hard, but I know you were a tireless Trump worker, and I appreciate that. And thanks for all you've done. But as far as Mark Lloyd and Mike Rubino satisfying New York, I mean, they were paid staff, and so they had supervisors in New York that had a system that told them what their job requirements were and what the deliverables were. And so they were doing exactly what they were told to do. So you really can't blame them for saying, well, they were focused on telephone calls or how many touch points or whatever. But I mean, that was the directives coming down. They had to follow those directives. Otherwise, they couldn't stay in the jobs. I mean, we had the same issue with Jack Morgan in Southwest Virginia, who was very frustrated by the directives given to him from people in New York rather than letting Jack do what Jack does. So he had to navigate his way through that. But you really can't blame Lloyd or Rubino for doing their job as it was outlined to them by their bosses.
Well, I can blame them for looking for a scapegoat right now. Leadership has to take responsibility for outcomes, whether that is victory or defeat. And in this case, the paid leadership was Mark Lloyd, Mike Rubino, and John Jaggers here in Nova. Why did they fail? The essence of effective leadership is getting the best people that you can, engaged, motivated, and supported towards a common objective. That's the essence of effective leadership. It was effectively not there with those 3. And further, it was negative in that this leadership squashed every initiative that was put before them. There was never any explanation. There was never any communication. Actually, people, you'd say Mike Rubino, people didn't know who Mike Rubino was. And we never knew who he was or where he was. And surely the chairman of the Virginia campaign should have had some communication with people beyond them. He never got beyond Mike Rubino, and there was never any real communication between them. Nobody, I had hundreds, maybe thousands of volunteers. Nobody ever came to me and said, well, this is what we want to do, and this is what we must only do. And you cannot win a campaign with phone calls and door knocking. Mr. Trump himself proved that. What did he do? He connected with people, and people loved that. That is what empowers them, that is what energizes them, that is what inspires them. And that was squashed all the way. You're having an event? No. Shut it down, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. No do not have any communication with anyone. That was their modus operandi.
Okay, Alice, maybe we were working in different campaigns. I got to tell you, Alice, I didn't see that. I was first vice chair, then it was co-chairman, then it was chairman after Corey got fired on October 10th when he did the rally with you at the RNC, which, by the way, I called him up on Sunday at home during a football game and told him that it was a bad idea and advised him as his co-chair not to go to that rally, but he decided to go, and that's fine. I mean, I could only make a suggestion. But look, as far as passing the buck and what the motivation is, I don't know, but I got to tell you that I was the chairman in the final month. I got everything from New York that I asked for, everything. I got the advertising on TV and radio. I got the staff I wanted. I got the two prime candidates, Trump and Pence, in the final weekend in Northern Virginia, which was one of my requests also. They gave me everything I wanted. We lost by 212,000 votes. So if there's any scapegoating here, the buck stops with John Fredericks. I got everything I wanted. I failed to deliver the 13 electoral votes back to Trump, right? They gave me what I said. I didn't deliver. So if you're going to scapegoat anybody, scapegoat me. I mean,
absolutely, John. Absolutely
Alice,
not. You had a month. You had a month. What happened for months and months and months prior to that? I never heard from you. Here I was with hundreds, thousands of women, ready to hundreds in this area, ready to go. I didn't hear one word from you. As a matter of fact, I was blocked from every Trump event that was going on around here, and I call them my women. They're not my women, but effectively that's my group. So, I didn't know you were chairman. I didn't know anything about you. But, the bottom line is that Corey didn't give up. Corey didn't complain. Corey kept doing what he was doing. He kept campaigning for Mr. Trump. He was loyal he was one of the first to come out for Mr. Trump. I think he was the first elected official to come out for him. He put himself on the line. He went out there day after day at his own expense all over the state. And this accusation that he was out there campaigning for himself is absolute falsehood. How do I know that? I was with him much of the time. Corey never mentioned his own campaign. He had no literature. He had nothing. All he was doing was supporting Mr. Trump, advocating for Mr. Trump, and he did a tremendous job. People loved him.
All right, so why did he go to that rally at the RNC when we told him that it was a bad idea and that it would have consequences? Why did he do that?
Well, number one, I think he was probably very, very frustrated. And number two, we as women were there to show support for Mr. Trump. It was right after the video had come out with the language that people were complaining about, and while everybody else was, ridiculing Mr. Trump, we were there in support of him, as was Corey, and so it was a mistake. But did that cause Mr. Trump to lose in Virginia? That is ridiculous nonsense.
Okay, well, there's something else that's real, though, that you have to come to grips with. And look, I have no agenda here other than I was asked what happened, and I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened from the perspective that I have and for what I was aware of. What really eliminated any chance that we had at the end to be really competitive in Virginia was when the false news story got out that the Trump campaign was pulling out of Virginia. Now, that story was confirmed by Corey Stewart, and he knew that was not true, or if he didn't know it wasn't true, he certainly made no effort to dispute that. He had no authority to even, first of all, nobody should have even asked him. He was out of the loop. He was not the chairman, but he furthered the false narrative that we were pulling out of Virginia because it seemed to me like that tied into his narrative about the RNC and why I got fired and everything else, when we never recovered from that, Alice. And that was, I mean, this is just reality.
You know, John, you're speculating again. You don't know all the facts. You don't know what these men were really like. And like I said, they were dishonest. I know
what does that have to do with what I just said?
I'm not going to get into it because we're all moving forward. But Corey Stewart has more integrity in his little finger than both of these men. He's a man of honor and integrity, and he's a proven public servant. And he's honest and he's loyal. But these are characteristics Lloyd and Rubino appear to know nothing about. And, you know, Mr. Trump admires loyalty, and Corey Stewart was and still is loyal. He did tremendous work for President-elect Trump. And like Mr. Trump, he has a vision for this state. He has a love for this state and the people of this state. And he will always put the people of this state first. And that's what he did when he was campaigning for Mr. Trump. He was putting Mr. Trump and the country first. And if hiring and firing 80 people within a 2-week period does not indicate pulling out, you tell me what it means.
Well,
and I know because some of these people talk to me.
There was a handful of people that
80
they wanted.
people. John,
there was no 80 people. You know, Alice, I mean, look, facts matter. Okay, there were no 80 people.
That is a fact, John, and we're on here. I'm on here with unvarnished facts. I'm not here to make excuses or anything else, just with facts. I spoke to one man, a retired federal agent who was hired, and 2 weeks later, his daughter was home from college or whatever. He was in the living room, and she was saying, Dad, oh, I'm so happy for you, and I'm so proud of you. The phone rang. He went in the other room. It was Mark Lloyd telling him he was fired. This happened with 80 people. That is the fact. And Corey Stewart has nothing to do with us losing in Virginia. They had a year to build up coalitions. They had a year to support the people who were out there doing everything they could. You know, for one, I worked 24/7, and when they tried to shut me down, what did I do? I kept going because Trump people were absolutely dedicated to one thing, and that was to winning. And that is what Corey Stewart was dedicated to. So they can say everything they like and make every excuse they like, but it is not true. And I will give you an example of why Corey Stewart was fired. And this is from Mike Rubino. Mark Lloyd, Corey asked Mark Lloyd why. Mark Lloyd texted Mike Rubino. Mike Rubino texted back. And here, quote and unquote, it's the reasons he gave. Because he never, and I repeat, never, did what I asked. Corey, run your calendar by us. Corey, don't talk to Alice Butler-Short. How ridiculous. Corey, don't protest the RNC. Corey, don't talk to Eric Trump. Corey, don't rail against the establishment at the state convention. Corey, read our talking points. Corey, don't announce your run for governor until November 9th. Well, and he did not announce his run for governor. And all of that, Alice, these are silly little things.
Alice. Okay, you read off 10 things that Rubino told him to do, and you refuted one of them. What about the other 9? Look, Alice.
The other 9? Because I was with Corey. I was with Corey that he went around the state. I was with Corey. They had no agenda for Corey. They had no calendar for him. They had nothing. He had to set it up and do it himself. But you know,
Alice,
John,
this is
the election is over.
Alice, look,
it doesn't matter what. We now have Trump in the White House. That is victory for us. The only thing I want to do is to make sure that they do not sully Corey Stewart's name because he doesn't deserve it.
Okay. The fact of the matter is, in that text that you read, okay, I mean, this is the way it works, Alice, okay? You're the chairman or you're the surrogate or you're the spokesperson. I was a Virginia spokesperson for the campaign. I was a TV surrogate for them. You have to follow the agenda of the campaign. Otherwise, if you go rogue, you have chaos. And so you got to tell them what their calendar is. You have to tell them what media you're doing. They give you a set of talking points. This is the way it works. And I can tell you for a fact that the Trump campaign was very liberal with the way those were interpreted. Very liberal. I mean, they would go over it and they would say, this is the agenda we want to get out today. And I would go on whatever shows I was on, CNN or other radio shows or whatever, And I can interpret that any five which ways. They weren't like the Clinton campaign.
Listen, John, Corey did
but you
exactly
had to follow the
that
rules.
plus.
Look,
that is why he was so effective. And everyone makes a mistake. And John Jaggers did that when he made the front pages of the Loudoun County Times because he said, don't vote for Hillary because if you do, you'll be voting for Kane because Hillary will be dead in a year. And he was pushed then from Fairfax County totally into Maryland, but he came back at the end to do more damage.
Well, look, I'm not going to comment on John Jaggers.
And
I don't
Mark Lloyd put something on his Facebook about Muslims that was just awful. So it was so bad that the Democrats used it in a letter that went out looking for donations,
Alice,
and that was it. So he made a mistake. Jaggers made a mistake, and Corey made a mistake, and he's held responsible for the entire election. It is nonsense. We just dodged a bullet by electing Donald Trump and preventing another Clinton presidency to compound the Obama damage.
Alice, you're entitled to your opinion, but not your own facts, okay? And if you go to the Harrisonburg State Convention, I did my show live right there from the convention. And I was very upset that Corey Stewart was not part of the national delegate team selected. Anybody that tuned me in that day or can get back to the tape, I went absolutely ballistic over it. And I was very upset that my chairman got sliced out of being a national delegate. My wife and I...
Yes, he was working against the odds the entire time.
My wife Ann and I, who did win delegate seats, we each got one pass for a guest. We gave them to Corey and Maria. They stayed in our hotel, and we hung out with them. But here's the bottom line, and the facts matter. Mark Lloyd, at my table at Harrisonburg, handed Corey the talking points we wanted him to deliver in this speech that came directly from New York, right over the phone. Here's the talking points. Corey went up and delivered a different speech that had nothing to do with that. Now, the problem is when you continue to go rogue and don't follow the agenda of the campaign, you have a chaotic situation. I think that was the frustration.
If that was so egregious, Corey would have been fired right there and then. Corey did a great job given everything that was going on at that convention.
Listen, Alice, again, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, not your own facts.
I'm entitled to the facts.
Alice,
you have facts from one side, and I have facts from the other side.
I've only got my perspective.
The difference is that Corey Stewart is an honest man.
Nobody's disputing
These men
that.
Are not.
Nobody is disputing
honest.
that. But you're bringing things up that are not true. Like you just said, well, then how come they didn't fire him then? There was an effort to take him out of the position. I personally intervened and told them not to do it and to save him, and we'd straighten it out. So this thing was going on, and I think Rubino and Lloyd, out of their frustration, have told their story. I can only share my perspective. I don't know the other parts of it that didn't happen. Nobody is disputing Corey's integrity, honesty, qualifications for governor, or anything else. I'm certainly not disputing any of that. What I am saying is, here's what happened during the campaign, and actions have consequences. And he had actions, and he got fired.
And you absolutely aligned with Mark Lloyd and Mike Rubino in the disinformation that they're putting out. And you know what we're talking. We're not going backwards. We're talking about the future. We're talking about the person who could possibly be the next governor of Virginia. And when you throw that kind of stuff out there, you are not doing him any good whatsoever. So that needs to be put to rest, because Corey is going to be fighting for the privilege of being governor of this state. That's politics, but it should be a fair fight. And while he's just getting his campaign started, Corey Stewart should not have to fight against the lies, the character assassination, and attempts to delegitimize him by Mark Lloyd and Mike Rubino, who, through their lack of positive leadership, lost Virginia from Mr. Trump. The buck stops with them. They were the leadership. And as far as going forward is concerned, Corey has walked the walk. He has stood firm and often alone for 10 years as the elected chairman, protecting the safety, job, education, and quality of life for nearly 500,000 residents of Prince William County. And in the meantime, other cities that the Commonwealth have been neglected, being turned into sanctuary cities where families are unsafe and jobs are gone.
Alice,
Corey has given all to Prince William County and the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth deserves the same. And he gave all to the Trump campaign.
I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate your enthusiasm for your candidate, and I mean that. It means a lot to me, and I want to thank you for coming on. And I have respect for what you're saying and what you're doing. I also want to tell you that I was the guy that lobbied to bring Mike Rubino back over the summer when he was promoted to New York because I thought he offered our best chance operationally to win. They provided me with that. But I got to tell you, I know Mark Lloyd and Mike Rubino. I work with them every day in this campaign. They never lied to me one time. They never told me something that didn't happen.
I know them very well.
They never lied to me once.
I could sit with you for 2 hours and tell you a different story, a very different story.
I never saw it.
No, I'm a Trump woman. I'm a Trump supporter. Corey is a Trump supporter. We will continue to support Mr. Trump, President-elect Trump.
Well, we all are. And, we're on the same page with that.
And I will stand against anyone who perpetrates lies about Corey Stewart.
Well, look, again, we're not disputing Corey's integrity.
You are. You definitely are.
I'm telling you that Mike Rubino and Mark Lloyd have never lied to me. And anything
not
that
to
we
you.
said...
Not to you.
Anything
come up
that we
here
said,
come up here. You know, if you want to sit down one day, I'm not going to do it publicly because it's over. Forgiveness is something that comes as part of being a Christian. So the past is the past. We are moving forward in a positive way. I worked to the very end for Mr. Trump.
Alice.
I have a huge organization. It will grow bigger and better.
Thank you.
Corey Stewart worked to the very last day for Mr. Trump.
Thank you.
He did more for Mr. Trump than he was amazing for Mr. Trump.
Alice,
if it's not recognized by Lloyd, Rubino, or you, that's just fine. But that is what he is, a man of honesty, a man of integrity, a man of high character who went out there and did the very best. And one day, Mr. Trump will acknowledge it, I am sure.
Alice, I got to take off. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you,
You're on the
John.
John Fredericks Radio Network. Thank you very much. I'll be right back.